6 bowlers used. Cronje, the 6th himself, about to bowl his 3rd over. He's bowling to Shane Warne on 2. Michael Bevan on 49. Warne in the air, but no man inside the circle at long on. And Bevan scampers back for 2. Warne likewise helps him out at the other end. A change in the commentary position. Carl Rackerman, and with him, Shane Warne's coach.
Thank you, David. Hooks, not crooks. 5 for 106 Australian. And there's just some rearguard action happening here. It's one of those situations in these one-day matches where you've just got to be patient and wait for the batsman to accumulate runs. I know one thing, Warne trying to run that down to 3rd man fairly fine, fraught with danger. That is a bad hat. That Majid Khan had one worse than that, I think, about 30 years ago. That's a beautiful stroke. Only 1 for it. South African fielding tonight has been outstanding. The throw of Herschel Gibbs just a moment ago, just missing, which would have been a disaster for Australia. Crook's a good fielder himself, taking a sharp chance to catch Ian Healy. Michael Bevan yet again on another milestone, 49 not out. There's probably a leg by. Yes, it is. The crowd clapping, but unfortunately no bat on that one. Michael Bevan's record is quite astounding, averaging more than 50. Has 18 not outs, brought about a lot by the fact that he bats down the lower order, usually walking in at number 5 or 6 or even 7. And Jonty Rhodes continues the Rhodes show. You could take it on the road, couldn't you? 108, 5 for 108 Australia.
And as he's been doing all season, saves more runs, makes it look easy.
Just picking up the single. Australia 5 for 109.
South Africa lost their 5th wicket on I think 106, but the significant difference in the equation is that Mark Waugh has been injured, split the webbing in his finger, 6 stitches, will only bat if required. I don't know when they decide that.
It's a lovely view of Newlands Oval at night. It certainly makes a lovely picture. All grounds do at night. There's the comparison. 5 for 109, 5 for 107. So at this stage you think it was pretty even. Shane Warne trying to shift the balance, and a drop catch. Well, he looked, for all intents and purposes, Alan Donald, to have been able to swallow that, but just took it too easy, and they get 2.
Yes, it should have been 6 for 109. Shane Warne advancing down the pitch, slashes that ball to long off, and Donald drops really a fairly simple outfield catch.
So Warne employing the sweep this time, thinking that's a bit safer, but there's no point in really in just continually defending. This was the stage in the 31st over. As you see, Donald getting good position really on the move, and just went straight through the fingers. He'll be disappointed. He's such a great trier. He's dropped 1 or 2 catches this summer, but generally fielded very well. Bevan's still looking for his 50. Just 4 men in the circle, so there really should be a gap or 2 for him. Just a matter of finding it. Pretty good rate too, just 75 balls. And there it is. There's his 50. Well played, Michael Bevan.
And a good innings. He came in for Australia in all sorts of trouble. Not that they aren't in trouble now, but they were in worse trouble then. Had a good partnership with Ian Healy, and now he's been joined by Shane Warne. 76 balls in 90 minutes, 5 fours, and yet another 50 for Michael Bevan in limited overs cricket. Down to Donald. He gets a little bit of a cheer from the crowd. Not too much trouble fielding an easy ground ball like that. And there it is, 11 50s in 51 one-day games, and he's averaging 58.1 per innings, which is astonishing.
That's the over.
End of Crook's over. Australia 5 for 114.
Well, a win to Australia would have to be listed as unlikely. It would have been listed as impossible probably an hour ago. But we saw Australia's lower order batsmen unable to stay with the incumbent at the other end earlier in the series. Maybe they can do it tonight.
Australian scoreboard with Bevan's chance shining like a beacon. Just like those lights in the background. Healy, 25 or 48 balls. Other than that, really a disappointing performance to date. Warne on the attack. Tonya looking for his wicket.
No run there. It went somewhere on the offside, which means Rhodes was waiting for it. He's fielding in a backward point position. Deepish, just inside the circle. You see there the 4 players inside the circle, which have to be maintained.
Taking the charge that time, and bad luck again. Just good dive, but not able quite to keep it in play. Sean Pollock is a marvellous athlete. He really sprinted around the boundary, but not up to it.
Well, Shane's decided that attack is the best means of defence, and with a little bit of luck running his way, he was dropped on the boundary by Donald last over, and there he got an edge wide of the keeper and evaded the third man fieldsman.
Good width that time from Cronje, and Warne driving well, so a bit of luck on Warne's way, and he moves to 15. And you just never know. He's made a 50 in one-day internationals. She had a record partnership of 119 for the 8th wicket with Paul Rifle. He's yet to come, and you can see that just behind the run per ball, like a run a ball equation. So it's a big ask, but some of those will get Australia right on the road. That's a magnificent pull shot.
Michael Bevan didn't bother running for that. He knew it was 4. Cronje just dropping a bit short, and at his pace it'll either be pulled or cut by Bevan, and that's what happened over the mid-wicket fieldsman. No one in the deep to stop it. 4 runs.
That'll be a wide. Umpire Orchard signifies just that. So runs now starting to come for Australia. Another twist and another turn. Bevan being very patient. And then taking the single to mid-off, which is good, very good batting. I'd be surprised if Cronje doesn't consider bringing back his fast bowler here with Michael Bevan seemingly in a comfort zone out there with the white washer hat on. Warne with the white washer hat. Quite often the captain will think, well, I'll change that. And when you change that around, it changes the rhythm of the batsman, because they then go for their helmets. 11 off this over. And there's a big hit. No, that's over the fence. It's a 6. 17 runs from the over. And Australia rocket to 5 for 131.
Fortune favouring the brave. Shane Warne earlier in the over swung lustily at Cronje, got an outside edge, and it went just wide of the keeper. Fieldsman couldn't stop it on the boundary. Pollock went for 4 runs, and there, aiming high over mid-wicket, he middled that one. 6 runs.
So Warne getting a bit of his own back, copped a bit of a shellacking his last couple of overs. Been put over the fence a couple of times. And Australia now really accelerating.
And this could be an interesting over, Terry. I think Shane's adrenaline will just be starting to pump after that magnificent shot. Nice and high, and far enough too to carry over the boundary into the crowd. I don't think anyone in the crowd's caught a 6 yet tonight. It's worth £1,000.
Might, when I get off the air, might duck around to mid-wicket. Mind you, I'd be no guarantee to catch it either. And Warne had wound up then before the ball was released. He was really, as Carl Rackerman said, the adrenaline will be flowing here. Shane Warne thinks it's compulsory to hit him over the fence. Not all leg spinners think that way, of course. And look at that, perfect forward defence.
Block shot. Not too sure where that came from. This pair have put on 38, which has been very valuable.
And now just milking the bowling for this over, knowing that Hansi Cronje has to do some thinking. Jonty Rhodes has saved a few runs already. But still a big task for Australia here. Bevan finding the gap behind point. They look for 2. He's very quick between wickets, and they threw to Warne's end, but both safely home. 4th in the over, Australia 5 for 135.
Terry Jenner may have nominated correctly. I see Andrew Bickle running out with helmets for the batsman. So obviously fast bowlers being called on. Warm up.
Rudy Bryson.
And it looks like we've exceeded capacity.
Well, look at that. You'd think this was in the West Indies, where they have a capacity, a crowd of 21,000, and there's 21,143 in the ground. I went for a walk around that ground earlier, and it is wall-to-wall people, standing room only, and they're loving it. The warning came over a while ago that anyone considered by the guards around the ground to be instigating the Mexican wave would be thrown out. That's a bit of good news for the night. Partnerships, 41 there between Bevan and Warne off just 37 deliveries and 21 minutes. So it's almost 2 runs a minute. So Bryson back. Well, it'll be interesting to see how he comes back. He skidded on a bit like old Lenny Pascoe used to. And there's a shout. No, there's not. Just a good take there by wicketkeeper Richardson.
I think it might have been an edge, in fact. That's what all the excitement is about. Shane Warne has edged this, yes. It didn't carry, and as we've spoken about, Dave Richardson standing a long way back. My bet would be if Ian Healy was behind the stumps, that would have been out, because he'd be a lot closer. Just not quite carrying to Richardson.
Well, surely someone should tell him. We've been saying it. Cracked out to point, and Jonty Rhodes looking for a run out here. Big shout, calling for the camera. What a marvellous piece of fielding by Crooks. There's a huge shout here. The crowd on the side think he's out. So does Warne. He's been given out. Warne got to his feet. You can see the replay from here. But he's on his way. Australia 5 for 136.
Well, here we see the shot. Warne hitting high over point. And Crooks is out there. Takes the ball well on the run. And then fires back a throw straight over the stumps. Good fielding that. And only just out in the end. But good enough. Bad luck for Australia. Another handy partnership. But Australia lose their 6th wicket for 137.
Today's attendance, 21,000.
South Africans very happy in that group. And the run out again, changing the direction of the game. You got the feeling that the way Warne was going and Bevan feeding off him, this looked like being, first of all, a 4. And then just a great piece of fielding by Crooks, the number 3 in the Gibbs Rhodes Crooks show. And very slow to turn, Shane Warne. Knows he's in trouble here. So he dives, and I reckon there's about a millimetre in it. And we've seen 2 of those run-outs today where it looks ever so close. But in the end, the umpire had no hesitation, the third umpire, that is, in giving the decision. So Australia 6 for 136. Will Mark Waugh come to the crease? I think he will.
A bit's been made of the run-out situation and the damage South Africa do to all of their opponents, but have been doing to Australia in the run-out department. And there's been 2 more tonight. They are just deadly, and they have a clear advantage. The statistics prove it over opposition sides with their run-outs. And just as a partnership starting to develop, you lose it to a run-out, and it's a little demoralising, and certainly something the team can do without. Michael Bevan can do without it. He's trying to do his best work and get the runs coming, hoping someone will stay with him at the other end. Healy did a good job of that, and then Warne was doing a good job in his own way, proving very effective, and got over 40 in their partnership, but then a run out. There we see the dancing girls. We're more used to seeing that in basketball and rugby league games in Australia and such. Not too often at the cricket, but they've introduced it in these one-day games in South Africa. Been great crowd pleasers, as you can tell by the applause and the cheering. The drinks are over. We'll get back on with the game.
Bottom over 3.
Well, it's Paul Rifle. One thought the way Bevan was going that Mark Waugh may have joined him, but obviously no desire to risk him at this time. But Rifle, very capable batsman. Said that the other day, and he got bowled first ball after I said it. But he really can put an innings together. Looking to get off the mark early. Carl Rackerman with his fingers crossed. I suppose that's how you batted, Carl.
I had my fingers wrapped around the handle of the bat when I batted, but I suppose, metaphorically speaking, that was pretty true. Paul Rifle's record in one-day internationals. Played a lot of games, 74 matches. An average of 15.7 and the highest score of 58, so he's done it before.
That's a shot he likes to play. He likes to play square of the wicket. Shows his stumps. But when he's in form, he really gets it away. And can accumulate runs at a reasonable rate. So Australia's task very difficult, needing 109 runs, but really not out of it altogether. Now, Dennis Rogers is obviously speaking on the South Australian Broadcasting Network. We can't hear him. South African Broadcasting Network, SA. But I'm sure he'd be making sense. That'll be a no ball down the leg side, wide down the leg side, and it is. So Bryson not quite as good as he was early. Just struggling for line. Bevan. One run off the bat in the over. Cramped up that time, thinking of two. And he's running to the danger end, although they do throw sensibly to the end that Rifle's running. Beautiful piece of fielding again.
Well, Bevan's not gun shy. He's still prepared to take them on.
Well, they filled over here, so it's 6 for 140.
South Africans just inspecting the ball. We've just had the second drinks break of the innings, and the ball gets changed. In this instance, if there was any dew out there, they'd get a dry ball. That'd be to their advantage. They're just looking at it there.
Derek Crooks. He's bowled pretty well, really. Hasn't got a lot of turn, but that would be understandable with the dew that's on the pitch and the skidding along. But he got the important wicket of Ian Healy. Australia's 6 for 140. 16 overs remaining. And Paul Rifle on strike. Now he's averaging 15 at this level, but remembering that he bats normally 9 or 10. So you don't get a great opportunity. He's made nearly 500 runs.
Chase on, chase on!
And he gets that one away nicely, square of the wicket.
Australia really, in terms of chasing 245, are fairly well placed, except for the fact that they're 6 out. 140 runs at this stage of 34 overs isn't a bad position to be in. But too many batsmen back in the pavilion, added to which Mark Waugh's problems.
So it brings that run out into being, doesn't it, Carl, when you think that now it's just over 6 runs, or almost 7 runs and over. Another over or two of Warne hitting out, and Bevan sort of keeping this ticking over for that brief partnership period. Australia might have just about edged up. You can see they're in front of South Africa, but they really did set amongst them. 50 off the last 5 overs. To do that, Australia would need Bevan to still be there at the last 10, and perhaps even Paul Rifle with him.
Paul Rifle's looked quite relaxed since he's come in, and giving the strike to Bevan, as he should. Bevan's on 61 not out. He's played beautifully.
That was well bowled. Man in Bevan's form still managed to be beaten there, and very quickly running through for 2. Now Bevan has that ability, as does Jonty Rhodes, to really turn ones into twos and put the pressure on the opposition, and from nowhere suddenly an over. This is 5 off it, and pretty good over, but only just a bit behind the run rate. 6 for 145.
Michael Bevan and Paul Rifle discussing tactics. The comparative table, Australia well ahead on runs, but as Terry Jenner said, there was an onslaught at the end of the South African innings, which could take a bit of beating. But that table reads okay.
If you look at the last 10 overs there, 86 runs came from them, including 57 off the last 5. So that's what faces Australia. They're doing all right at the moment, and that's a bit of medicine back. Paul Rifle did that a couple of times in 1 over earlier in the night.
Just finished up playing the ball from leg stump. It's nowhere near really where the ball was. didn't really do a great deal. Once again, wicketkeeper taking the ball around his shoelaces.
Plenty of carry on that one, so he's setting him. Roger Rose giving it a shine. Well, there's no chance of him getting a bowl. But he's done everything else today. Batted magnificently. He's fielded as only Jonty Rhodes seemingly can. He's overshadowed everyone else on this ground. Derek Crooks produced a magic moment a while ago to get rid of Shane Warne. He's just getting there late, Paul Rifle. A sign of a man lacking confidence.
Australian team on the balcony, probably not in the greatest of spirits at the moment, but still plenty of resolve amongst them.
Saw Andrew Bickle there with gloves on. Not sure why he hasn't been able to use them in recent times. That's what Paul Rifle does. He gives himself a bit of room and plays in that third man to forward point region. Takes a single that time. But this is a good over at the moment for South Africa. Australia can ill afford too many dot balls, and whilst Rifle was playing a missing, Bevan was sitting at the other end. He'll look for a single off this last ball to try and steal the strike back. That equation isn't impossible. He'll get more than one here. There's two. They won't think of three. Sean Pollock, strong arm, and a beautiful throw. 6 for 148.
Michael Bevan plays that shot quite well, just turning it off his hip. Ball on leg stump, and generally places it quite well. There's always fieldsmen out there, but he always manages to get two. And as a general rule, that keeps himself on strike, but it was the last ball of the over, so Paul Rifle's on strike now. Crooks to continue.
Beautiful. Look at the night view. The lights in the background. The ground's changed a bit since 1975 when I was last here. A lot more stands. I probably have to, you're right. 1 for 32, 2 for 25 for Bryson, and 1 for 15 for Pollock. Yes. Sometimes you just have to cop what's said in the background and get on with it. Crooks to continue. And just an easy single to mid-on. So 6 for 149, the milestone coming up in a moment for Australia. 14 runs ahead of South Africa at the time. But Jonty Rhodes was there. As is Michael Bevan. That's a beautifully placed shot. It's 4. That's the Australian 150.
Australia's 150 coming up in 151 minutes, 220 balls. Michael Bevan just hitting it out of the reach of the mid-wicket fieldsman. Having done that, into wide open spaces for 4 runs at mid-wicket.
Bevan's intent is there. Crooks is the man he wants. He's going after him. He's bowling his 9th over. He has 1 for 37.
No.
You would probably figure that Alan Donald's not going to be easy. Donald has 5 overs left. That's going to be the challenge for the Australians. That and Sean Pollock, he also has 5 overs left. So they need to make hay while the sun shines. Finding the gap behind point. They'll get a couple here. Well placed by Bevan. He's very good at that. He knows where the gaps are and seems to find them unerringly.
Well, Australia's got to keep continuing to score. It's well over a run of ball needed now. And this hasn't been a bad over.
Well, stop, Derek.
That's the over.
And that was a very good save. 6 for 155.
Well, Crooks has done fairly well, bowling his off spinners. He scored 18 runs in South Africa's innings. Nearly got out a half a dozen times, but survived. But being brought back into the side, he's had a reasonable game, Crooks.
James, right time over.
Bowling change from the Golden Goal.
So 19-run partnership, this between Bevan and Rifle. Rifle hasn't done a lot, but he has stayed there. Very important. We've got a change in the bowling. This is the time. This is the testing time. Sean Pollock coming back into the attack to try and remove Paul Rifle. He seems like a good partner for Michael Bevan. So Cronje on top of his game, making the right decisions. And that's pretty important for a captain. And the decision here is that David Hooks should come in with Barry Richards and replace Carl Rackman and I.
Thanks very much, Terry. So one wonders, what will Mark Waugh do? And well run by Paul Rifle. He doesn't realise that the fieldsmen have given up, and he scampered through.
Yes, they're teasing Mark Waugh just when they get close enough. Possibly put his pads on, they lose a wicket, and it looks like it's all lost again. But Michael Bevan has kept them in the hunt all night, and this game's not over yet.
I hope all the people in Australia waking up, enjoying this coverage. People on Fox Sports and Channel 7 in Australia and all around the world, wherever you may be, whatever the time is. Michael Bevan has produced magic in the latter stages of some one-day games. Can he do it today? Once again, he hits so square on the leg side.
I just wonder, a little bit of a technical problem there. Just one, if he could just get a little bit straighter, he'd get far better value. The fielders know it, the bowlers know it, and Hansie Cronje, the captain, has got his field very square for Michael Bevan. If he could just get a little straighter, instead of just getting the one each time, he'd be able to get two and retain the strike.
Paul Rifle can't get off strike. He needs to give it back to Michael Bevan as quickly as possible. That's why I think that Mark Waugh could be useful, so long as he can hold the bat reasonably well. He's such a wonderful place with the ball anyway, and with only 4 men in the circle, plenty of singles for Waugh.
Yes, and I suppose it is the little finger on the right hand, and from a batting point of view, as a right-hander, that's probably the one least likely to affect any batting. Again, we see Paul Rifle not quite getting into line. He really favours that shot of placing it down to third man and behind square on the offside. But if the ball does bounce and just seam away from it a little bit, it's going to be an easy catch for Dave Richardson.
Four wickets in hand, but one of those is Mark Waugh's hand. And again, beaten for pace and beaten by good length. And well, I know that I'd be bringing Alan Donald back on. I don't think Cronje will. But you can see the problems that Paul Rifle's having.
Again, we see Paul Rifle just in line with middle and leg, and the ball passing by the off stump. He really needs to get into line a little bit better than this. He's looking to play that far too square. You can still play it square from if you get your feet right behind it by just playing the ball late.
Very good over for South Africa by Sean Pollock, and the applause of the crowd. 6 for 157.
So Pollock 6 overs, 1 for 17. He's bowled pretty impressively. There we see the card. 2 to Bryson, 1 to Pollock, 1 to Crooks, and a run out to Crooks.
Australian scorecard. 3 wickets fell in 1 over. One of those was the run out of Di Venuto. And another run out as well. So both sides have had 2 run outs in their innings. Blewett and Dale, the men for Australia that ran out the South Africans. So a couple of good partnerships in a row, but Crooks to continue. Bevan hits him to extra cover. Man's very deep, but he hit it so hard that no single.
And again we see Michael Bevan getting inside, hitting inside out. Down the ground might have produced a better result.
It's like that, and he's appealed. In fact, he's out. Well, what a tragic end for Paul Rifle. Michael Bevan did what Barry Richards said, hit it straight back down the ground. Crooks got a hand onto it. It deflected off his hand onto the stumps of Paul Rifle. Run out because he was out backing up. He had no chance of getting back. And one of the real unfortunate type of dismissals in cricket. Paul Rifle doing everything he has to do. You see him there walking out of the crease and run out.
Yes, very, very unlucky dismissal. In fact, Paul Rifle had a pretty unlucky day. He bowled reasonably well in his first spell, had no result for that, and now he's been run out. Australia 7 for 157. Yeah, and those sort of run-outs really just twist the knife. Paul Rifle, he'd done everything right, just holding it together. There have been a couple of partnerships which had developed between Michael Bevan and Ian Healy, then Michael Bevan and Shane Warne, and then Rifle just doing a little bit of damage, and then most unfortunate.
Well, we were just talking about run-outs, the previous delivery, and there have now been 5 in this game. Donald there, still not brought into the attack. And you see Michael Bevan, that's the way he should be playing more often. Lovely straight drive, but well, look at Paul Rifle. He thinks, what a day I've had in Cape Town. 10 overs, none for 47, and now run out off the bowler's hand. Coming into bat for Australia is Adam Dale, so one would have thought that Mark Waugh, no chance of coming in now, unless I suppose Michael Bevan has a blistering 20 minutes or so.
I suppose the only other thought might be to try and get Michael Bevan to his 100, but I suppose they don't want to risk him, try and save him for the rest of the series.
Crooks to Bevan, hits through the covers and will get a single to the man who is a long way from the bat, even though he's in the circle, Jonty Rhodes. So they're prepared to concede the single to Bevan. That's why the 4 men are on the circle.
And here we see the replay, just beautifully hit by Michael Bevan. And Derek Crooks most fortunate just to get a finger on it, and Paul Rifle having done all the right things. Absolutely no chance of getting back.
So another left-hander to the crease to join Bevan. And very hard for tail-enders against off-spin bowlers in one-day cricket to score. They just for some reason don't want to hit straight. They try and play across the line and turn it to square leg and turn it very fine. Like that. It's in the air and no man there, and a misfield by Bryson. So 2 runs to the Australians.
And Reddy Bryson just taking his eye off the ball there, thinking he had half a chance of a run out. There was a little bit of hesitation. Adam Dale looking to play this on the leg side. It's gone away in the off. There's a little bit of hesitation, and Bryson just took his eye off the ball.
Can't get it past the man at short, fine leg. So a wicket taking over for the South Africans. Australia 7 for 160.
And there we see 33 batsmen, 1.4 per match this season. And having seen the fielding, the South African fielding side with Jonty Rhodes, Herschel Gibbs, Derek Crooks, I can understand that.
Crooks has completed his 10-over spell, 1 for 42. And Australia's 7 for 160, chasing 246 for victory. 86 required off 76 overs, 76 deliveries. Probably get them off 76 overs. So Crooks not a bad spell this evening. Full house for this young man, playing his 3rd one-day international for Australia. Bowled beautifully. Dale opened the bowling ball, bowled his 10 overs consecutively. 10 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 26. He got the early breakthrough, the first wicket to fall. Louis Kuhn out for 22, caught by Michael Divenuto. Pollock. And Bevan has absolutely smashed that ball. No ball's been hard to hit today.
Yeah, that's a 3-bagger for sure. Slower ball attempt from Sean Pollock. Just a little bit too short, and Michael Bevan's got his eye in now. You can see him just rolling it over and down, and very short. And Michael Bevan has just flayed that one away. Beautifully struck.
And likewise, well, consecutive boundaries, and they are 2 of the hardest hit balls consecutively that you'll see. So much so that the guard dog nearly went to field that one. Might have hurt his teeth.
And again we see Michael Bevan giving himself just a little bit of room, and Pollock did the right thing, got it up there, but Bevan just powered that one away. You can see giving himself a little bit of room, free swing of the arms. Just flung himself off balance.
Can he continue it? No, he can't. So Cullinan does well out to mid-wicket. Prevent the next boundary, and it puts Dale on strike.
Just teasing Mark Waugh again. Here we can see Michael Bevan. He's really taking it up to the bowlers. Cullinan quick to recover. And Michael Bevan's high score in one-day internationals.
2 very good innings, both in Melbourne and Guwahati in India late last year. Dale edges it wide of Richardson, but there is a 3rd man very fine in Alan Donald, and just a single. So good batting by Dale to give the strike back to Michael Bevan.
And Alan Dale just looking to run this one, not quite behind it, but gets enough bat on it to get it wide of Richardson. Valiant attempt, and we see again here, not quite in line, just pushing away from it. But Adam Dale will do the right thing. He knows to rotate the strike, give Michael Bevan as much of the strike as he can.
Bevan can't get Pollock away on that occasion. The typical fast bowler's reaction when you've been hit for a couple of boundaries to just be the school bully.
Australia 7 for 170.
Bevan hits it in the air. Cullinan's running around from mid-wicket. Oh, great catch in the end. Well, Cullinan was called out of it. And Louis Kuhn running in from, in fact, Jacques Callis running in from long on, called Darryl Cullinan out, and the end of a very special innings from Michael Bevan.
Yeah, Michael Bevan deciding to all-out attack was the way to go. Got enough bat on it. Callis, in fact, nearly overran it. Michael Bevan had hit one previously over mid-wicket. That one high on the bat. And you'll see Callis come into picture here. He nearly overran it. In fact, did well in the end to catch it. Not sure whether he was unsighted because of the lights. It is a bit of a problem in the night time when the lights are there. So the eighth wicket falls for Australia, 8 for 170.
Special innings by Michael Bevan. 9 boundaries, just 101 balls for his 82. And the crowd is delighted. So Bevan had to do that. Perhaps if he knew that Mark Waugh was coming in, it would have been okay. But this is what happens at night time sometimes. The ball does get onto you a little bit quicker than you think.
And here we see Callis charging in. And in the end, having to stop. Very athletic in the end. Took a great mark in the outfield.
See him getting his head out the way as well. Bevan just not quite getting it in the middle. You see that even so much so that one hand came off the bat. And great camera work. And as we speak, Alan Donald has been finally brought back into the attack. Jason Gillespie comes in, so I dare suggest now that no Mark Waugh. Gillespie has come on, which would tend to suggest that Mark Waugh won't come to the crease now. There may well have been some thought if perhaps they got to within 30 or 40 with Michael Bevan still there, but that not being the case, I can't see Jason Gillespie or Adam Dale flaying Sean Pollock and Alan Donald around the arena.
Yeah, not many options left for Michael Bevan. Just a little bit high on the bat. And in the end, a very good catch by Callis. Nearly overran it.
No doubt a slip will come into play here for the South Africans. Alan Donald just warming up. Sean Pollock down there patrolling the boundary. Cronje still seriously intense about the issue. 5 overs in his opening spell, and he bowls now. A slip in place to Gillespie. Yep. And outside edge. Third man, Jacques Callis, touches the ball for the second consecutive delivery.
And I'm afraid it's all but over for Australia if Mark Waugh's not going to bat. And one would have thought now that that decision has been made. Bevan again. I think he knew the bottom hand came off the bat, indicating that he hadn't hit it cleanly. And that was the result.
Sean Pollock 2 for 27. Good bowling. And a lot of men inside the circle now, just trying to put some pressure on the tail enders, prevent them scoring for 4 or 5 balls at this stage of a game, and the tail enders invariably try and smash it.